Voice of Truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
And welcome to our Central Europe Connections po. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And I am your host for tonight, or co-host, let's say that. I'm Eva Marie from Hamburg. And with me, of course, I'm not the only one who will be hosting tonight. And I have here from a city which also starts with H, which is Henry. What's your where you're from?
If Kaiserslautern started with the H, I'm just learning that just now. Actually, I'm from the local congregation of Heidelberg. My name is Henry. Actually, I'm all the way in Kaiserslautern, about an hour away from Heidelberg. But yes, it's we are connected. Connections is the word that we're using for today because this is our first episode of Central Europe Connections. And I know I'm feeling connected to everyone here, having been from the other side of the world. There's just so much to learn about Germany, to learn about the Netherlands, to learn about Switzerland, all of Central Europe. There's so many places to explore. And it is going to be our goal every broadcast to connect you all to what Central Europe has to offer. Would you agree with that, Eva?
Yes, I totally agree with that. And of course, Kaiserslautern doesn't start with H, it's Heidelberg. But if you noticed it, then well done because you are listening then. And of course, we're here to have a good time. And I hope you liked our new opening billboard. How did you like it, Henry?
Also, when that billboard was playing the music, my head was kind of, going with the rhythm. So, that made me feel like this is a little new. It's a different feel than what we've had over the past few weeks. So, we hope everyone here will be tuned in. We haven't changed, but we may be enlightening all who broadcast or so who tune into our broadcast to see what Central Europe has to offer. So, we're not just limiting what we talk about to those within Central Europe, but for everyone who tunes in and wants to connect with us, we are the broadcast for that. So, Eva, what do we have next?
So actually, I'm wondering what time it was because it's now 8:01 p.m. Central European Summertime, and it's 2 a.m. Philippines time. And as we can see, our time is still the same one. So every Sunday, we will be here at 8 p.m. Central European Summertime. And if the summertime is over, which is actually very soon, sadly, we will be back at 7 p.m. But for now, we're back at 8 p.m. And I'm wondering, since we still are enjoying the last sunlights, how is the weather over there in actually how is the weather generally in the major cities in Germany, Henry?
So, let's look at the weather that we have for today. We are showing, when I look at my references, it has a sun out there. The sun is starting to go away, but it is a clear sky at 20 degrees. If we were to go all the way to the Netherlands, Amsterdam is showing 26 degrees, also clear skies. And if we were to go all the way south below Germany to Zurich in Switzerland, we have partly cloudy skies with 24 degrees. So not so bad weather, but it's also telling us that summer is still kind of here. It's kind of warm. We're not too cold yet, so no need for your jackets, but we can always have room for coffee. Always room for coffee. Anyways, Eva, so now that we are somewhat of a rebranded Central Europe Connections, has our way of tuning into the broadcast changed at all?
No, it hasn't changed at all, Henry, since we're still on the YouTube channel of INCRadio DZM 954. And of course, we can also use our AM radio stations at home if you have. Also, it's the 954 kilohertz, as well as we have the different kind of INCRadio applications for our phones for different systems as well. So we will be staying here at the same spot at the same place but just as a new rebranded broadcast satellite. So, Henry, I think even though it's very warm still, and I think perhaps our ice cream might melt in the sunlight, what do you think? Should we play a game?
I think there is always ice, no matter how warm it is. So we need to break the ice. So let's start off with our icebreaker game. If Kuya can show us what we're doing today to break the ice. True or false, Munich edition. So we will be presented with a few questions about gauging our audience to see, actually not our audience, we're gauging our panelists and our audience to see what Munich has to offer. We have some of us here who are in our chat. Hello to all those familiar names and faces. We have Irene Julie Calvello, Brother Stefan Shelman, Kuya John, Joji Malnegro, a lot of names that we've seen. Uh, please feel free to also play this game with us. And we forgot to introduce those who are joining us today because they're the ones who are playing the icebreaker. So let's see. Let's first introduce one of our panelists and guests today, Felix Kaiser, either name or I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello po. My name is Felix Kaiser Albuera from Munich, Germany po. You can call me Kaiser if that's your preferred name po.
Okay, Kaiser. And it sounds very European, Kaiser. So we're going to call you Kaiser for today. And we also have another guest, Carla, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, Henry. Hi, Eva. My name is Carla, Carla Cantara Vigand. I'm also living in Munich, actually in the outskirts of Munich, and it's called Bavaria. Sorry, it's called Ebersberg in Bavaria.
Okay, so our Bavarian guests today, they will be the ones to be competing in our icebreaker, where I think Carla will have a little bit of an advantage, just because I think she's been here a little longer. But who knows? Kaiser might know a little bit more. So let's go to our first question in our icebreaker game. True or false, Munich is closer to the Alps than to Berlin? Well, we'll ask Kaiser first. Is Munich closer to the, oh, actually, true or false? Munich is closer to the Alps than Berlin. What is your answer?
That's true po.
So Munich is closer. Let's see if that is correct. True, that is true. I think if we look in a map, you have Berlin all the way on top, and then you have Munich somewhere in the middle, and maybe 1 or 2 hours south. I think you're already at the Alps. So, yes, that is true. Let's go to the next question. Next, Munich is the sunniest city in the world. Okay, Carla, let's add to this if you can. Does Munich really get a lot of sun?
I wish I could say true.
So I don't know if we have some those from Munich who are in the chat. And seeing that question, that's for people like me who are not from here. Will probably struggle a little bit, but I think we kind of know what the answer is. What is the answer, Kuitek?
It's false.
It is false. Yeah, Munich, we're not the sunniest, or Germany in general. I don't think anywhere in Germany is the sunniest city in the world. I think one of the things I remember when I first got here, because I've been here for 3 years now, is that um, during the winter time, I think the sun rises at around 9 in the morning, and then it sets at around 4 in the afternoon. So when I go to work, it's dark. When I leave work, it's dark. So definitely not the sunniest city in the world. Okay, let's go to our next question. The English Garden in Munich is larger than New York Central Park. Let's pause on this question so that we can see if our viewers, anyone in chat, go ahead and try to answer the question to the best you can. New York Central Park is a very large park in the States. It's known in a lot of movies and series, but the English Garden here in Germany, which I've been to, it's a very big park as well. So we're gonna ask this to both of our guests as we stall a little bit of time for our viewers to say true or false. English Garden in Munich is larger than New York Central Park. What do you think, Kaiser?
I think it's true po.
Okay, so Kaiser says true. What about Carla? Is that true or false? English Garden is larger.
Same, true.
True. Um, let's see what we have in chat. Oh, I see some false. I see false. I see false. They don't believe you. They're saying
Oh.
it's all false. Okay, so Kuya Tech, what is the answer? Is it bigger? It is larger. It is 3.7 times larger than New York Central Park. And I think Carla knows a lot about that. I know Kaiser knows a lot about English Park or English Garden, which we're going to talk about in our broadcast. Um, do we have any more questions? Any more true or false? I think we have more. Yes. True or false? You can go surfing in the middle of Munich. Kaiser, true or false? Can we go surfing in the middle of Munich?
True po. Yes po.
Okay. Carla, can we go surfing in the middle of Munich?
True.
Okay. To anyone in our chat, can we go surfing in Munich? If you were to ask me, surfing belongs to Hawaii. I'm from Hawaii, and I don't see surfing belonging to Germany at all. But I'm already seeing Michael Martinez in chat saying very true. I see Irene Calvello, true. I see Myla, true. Liline Weiser, true. Everyone knows this. So, Clea Tech, what is the answer? True at the Eisbach River Wave. So, that's one of the hidden gems, and we're going to talk about that later. Hidden gems. If you were to ask anyone, can we surf in Germany? In the middle of Germany, no one would really say yes. So that's something new to us. And I think we have one or two more questions. City's official colors are red and blue. Uh, Kaiser, true or false? Red and blue. That's Munich's official colors.
I'm not sure po, but I think it's false.
I think you found the pattern. That's why you're saying false because we had too many trues so far. What about you, Carla? Is that true or false?
I also think it's false. I think Bavaria is white and blue. But I'm
Ah,
not sure.
Yes, I think po.
okay. So let's find out. What are the official colors of Munich? They are actually black and yellow, like the bee. So uh, we now know Munich's official colors. And we'll go to our last question. Is that the last question? That is the last question. Okay, so now we have broken the ice, I think. Have we broken the ice, Eva?
Yes, I think we've broken the ice not only between all of us, but also in the live chat because there are so many participating in the game. As despite of the fact that English Garden was the most discussed one, because the live chat wasn't agreeing with the panelists, but that doesn't matter because we're all staying connected. Because we are gonna go and actually talk about the English Garden, and for that, Sister Alessandra Martinez actually prepared a Castles to Cities, which is one of our first time launching segment of tonight. And for this, Kuya Tech, please show us Castles to the Cities.
Hello everyone! Welcome to the city of Munich, and today I will show you a hidden gem. Come with me! First, let's take the public transport to the city center. To get to this hidden gem, you have to go through the Lehmbachhaus Museum and say you want to go to the garden. There's no entrance fee to enter the garden, and once you're there, you are greeted with lots of greenery and a small fountain, of course places to sit to enjoy the beautiful tranquility of this hidden gem. That was it for today's Castles to Cities vlog. Make sure to stay tuned in on Central Europe Connections so you don't miss any hidden gems not only in Munich but also all around the cities in Central Europe. See you next time!
Thank you so much, Sister Alessandra, for this amazing and short hidden gem that we even just discussed about in our icebreaker. So I hope the live chat also saw this beautiful side that Munich has to offer. And I already saw also a comment of Brother Kirk J. Miller that on his bucket list is in the English Garden as well. So, Henry, wait a second. Have you been to Munich already?
I have been to Munich maybe 3 times, but the sun was setting way too fast for me to really enjoy Munich. I've been to Marienplatz. I've been to the English Garden for a short time, and it is way too big to uh, finish in one day. Well, I would have to go to for a few days, and that's how we have our panelists here today to talk about a little bit about the English Garden and maybe some other sites around Munich that wasn't in the video. So, Kaiser, let's talk about the English Garden. What are your experience there? What can you say about it?
Yes, English Garden po, as we mentioned a while ago, is really big. It That's why I think it doesn't call English Park and it's a garden, but it's too big also to call it garden, I think. And we went there once during this summer. It was really nice. There's a lot of people. There's also a river in the middle of the park or in the garden, and that's where you can also find some people going on swimming in there on the river itself and doing the well-known surfing in the middle of the city. That's it.
So, Carla, you're very familiar with Munich. What else can you say about the English Garden? It will show up on some of our lists of things to do in Germany if we were to go on the internet search things to do in Munich. We can surf in an English Garden. I wouldn't have imagined that. What else can we do in the English Garden that might be so enticing for families to go there?
Um, just about the surfing, one more trivia. You can actually surf even during the middle of winter. So there are surfers even when there's snow and ice and sleet, it's still happening. So 12 months. But about the English Garden, it's as the game that we had mentioned, it's really massive. In terms of land mass, it actually covers several parts and quarters of Munich, and it's good for families. It's good for families who want to have some fresh air, walk with their children. I myself, I have a dog, and I love the English Garden, and he does as well because he can walk there off leash. And there are so many other dogs that he can play with, and I'm glad they're all very much disciplined. So it's a good 2 hour activity over the weekend. And then you can cap it with a picnic. There's also some nice restaurants. There's a lot of other sports happening. If you like volleyball, there's a lot of people with teams. And of course, football, which is being played by everyone and everywhere. So there's a lot of football games happening there and other sports. So everything is happening.
So the English Garden, I've been there once. Uh, if I were to say, it's not a negative thing, but when there's no parking, that means a lot of people are going there, right? So we had trouble parking, trying to find a place to park, and when we finally did, we were able to walk, my family and I. It was a great place for a family to just walk through. We lost track of time. There was a little playground for the kids to enjoy. We kept on walking. There's a place to eat. We kept on walking. There was a sporting complex. We kept
Mhm.
walking more, and okay, it's getting too dark because it was close to winter, so we didn't have much time. So
Mhm.
Kaiser, why is a place like the English Garden, or with all the hidden gems in there, that you would have to kind of take your time, go on different days to really enjoy the park? Why is it great for families to go to places such like this?
It's actually a great bonding for the family, honestly. Just walking in the park without any gadgets, without looking at your phone, just enjoying the view and doing some exercise also is good for your health. So walking there maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, I think it's not enough. And you can also enjoy swimming, some doing cycling over all around the park and jogging also. Sometimes when you walk on the pathway, you will see someone running with their dogs, not only alone but with their dogs. It's really great, and you can also with your family you can play like Miss Carla said, football or volleyball with your family. Play badminton. You can bring your own sports equipment or tables and chairs for mini picnic around the area. You can also buy food on the restaurant if you want. But for us, we brought our own food because, and it gives like a purpose of the family, like enjoying and bonding without any gadgets, just not watching TV, not watching any YouTube or TikTok or something like that. It's really good for the family bonding and for our health.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Carla, I have to ask you a question because you mentioned it. Why would we go surfing in the winter there? Or would you recommend any other things to do with your family to connect with them? Because, we're talking about CEU connections. And uh, when you explore these hidden gems, you're finding things as a family together. When we say gems, it's like treasure. And it's not really about what we find, it's about who we find it with. So, what why is places like the English Garden worth mentioning? There's so much to do. Why should we go there? What other gems could we find?
The English Garden is it's really a must to visit. And if I would personally recommend, for example, a walking tour of Munich City. And English Garden is a place where you could actually begin from this garden, or you could end with it, or pass it along the way. But as Felix was mentioning, it's good to be there because you're surrounded with people with different interests. It's not like going to a mall and shopping, which of course people also like to do, right? But there's also other ways to enjoy time other than retail therapy. In fact, you could even go to the English Garden and read a book. So you could bring your own snack, your own sandwich, maybe a thermos of tea or coffee, and a nice book. And if it's a sunny day, it's also something nice to do. But yes, there are other really hidden gems within Munich itself and also in the outskirts of Munich in more of the Bavarian landscapes.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's pretend that we are on a tour bus or we're walking. We're walking very far. We're getting out of the English Garden, and Carla, you're our tour guide. Uh, where are we going next? I want to be able to leave Munich saying that I had a unique experience here. That I did everything in the English Garden. So guide me to my next stop. That would tell me, Munich was a great place because I went to blank. Well, what would you put in that blank?
Munich is a great place because there are other different quarters that you can visit. You can start with museums, and these museums are also worth visiting not just for one day, but for a couple of days. And these museums also cater to different ages. So you have aviation and navigation, shipping, music, children's kingdoms, natural sciences, all housed in this gigantic museum, which would be worthwhile to visit for perhaps 2 days. And then you go to another quarter where you have an exhibition of different cars, automotive industry, and you will see how advanced German technology is and the history behind it and how it has evolved and the current situation. On the other hand, you also have several castles. So I'm sure for my fellow Munich residents, everybody has been to Nymphenburg Palace. And it's a very gorgeous palace, gardens, pockets of gardens, fountains. But there are other palaces also within Munich and also in the outskirts of Munich. So if you're into history, if you're into culture, even if you're into films, there are also some castles that have inspired some of the fairy tale stories that we have grown up with. And these are all within Munich and the outskirts.
Uh, Felix, Kaiser, have you been to any of these places? What Carla had just mentioned, or what are you looking for? Because I know Carla has been here for a few years. Uh, have you been to any of those places that she has mentioned?
We've been in Nymphenburg Palace, which is close to the city center of Munich. And but actually, I'm more on a nature lover guy, so I'm most often I go outside Munich, some places like some castles outside the Munich or lake or mountains, do some hiking, something like that.
Perfect, perfect. Because I would like to ask you, Felix, about the Alps, because we are so close to the Alps when we were in Munich that we drove a little south and we ended up going up to one of the three. There, I believe there are three peaks up there. There's the tallest one, which I'll say later. And there's the smaller one, which we went up there, and then there's the middle one, which had an avalanche, so we couldn't go up to that one. Have you been to any of those the different peaks there? And what is it about the mountains that you love so much when you visit there?
I visited one, though, I think it's the tallest mountain here in Germany. If I'm not mistaken, it's called the Peak of Germany. We went there during the winter, so it was really nice. The view was really nice. The Alps, it's like you're looking on a paintings. It doesn't make the pictures on your phone like serve justice on what you see by your eyes. You really need to go there personally to actually see the beautiful views around the German cities. You can see also big lakes on top of during your hike on the peak of Germany. You can see, I think it's Icebreaker. You can see it's very beautiful. During the winter, it was frozen when we went there, so we haven't really any experience going there during the summer or maybe autumn. But on the peak of Germany, you can see the border of Switzerland. I'm not sure if it's the border of Switzerland and Austria. So it's really nice. You can go on three countries in just one place.
So Carla, I know you. I can looking at your camera. I know you want to say something about that. So I'm gonna ask you. Uh, Tell me something poetic and spectacular. Putting a lot of pressure on you. Something poetic and spectacular about going up to the Alps. Why would you say no? Let's assume they can handle the elevation because some people cannot handle the elevation. Why would you recommend someone go to the Zugspitze and to see what Felix was talking about? What is the beauty of it?
The Zugspitze itself is really impressive. Um, in terms of course, the altitude, and you could also, I think, ride this funicular or this cable car. But at the base of this is the IBC, which Felix was mentioning, and poetic. Wow, I don't think I can give enough poetic justice to the natural landscape. Imagine, Henry, turquoise colored waters, whether it's spring or summer. And then you have in winter, everything is in white and everything is pillowy white. You have soft snow, hopefully no avalanche, as you mentioned. Haven't experienced that. And again, why I like it is it's dog friendly. So long as your dog is trained, you can really walk off leash. And then it's like maybe a 2 hour, and there are different hike options. So if you're not really a serious hiker, then there's an easy hike option, which is maybe 2 hours. And then more serious ones go for the longer walks. And then after that, you cap it with a picnic by the lake. Um, yeah, it's really worth it. It's worth the travel, and it's worth the hike, the energy that you spent seeing all of these and taking photos, and your photos are never good enough.
So that turquoise water that paints such a beautiful picture. And I say that because my family and I have walked around Lake Ipsy right before winter. Actually, almost exactly 1 year ago, we saw that turquoise water and the mist that just hovers over as if it's skating along the beauty of the water. That's my attempt at trying to sound poetic. But so I just want to look at some of the comments we have from Chanel Manalili. Munich will definitely be my next travel visit. Hashtag Frankfurt. From Jonah Rubik, the village of Obergammerau, if I said that correctly, has interesting pictorials painted on their homes like fairy tales. Hashtag Heidelberg. And just scrolling through our chat, we have uh, quite a bit of viewers and comments. Everyone's socializing with each other. That's very great. We love to see that everyone, and that's what our chat is. Our chat is a place to connect. CEU connections, right? We are all connecting there in the chat. So, you know, actually, they had a question from our chat from Irene asking, "Can I ask a question? What can we eat in Munich or Bavaria? Sorry, I'm a foodie." Hashtag Berlin. So let's start with Carla. What's the food? What special food exists in Munich or Bavaria in general that you would recommend?
Um, Bavarian food is, there's a lot of meat, admittedly, a lot of pork, um, beef, and chicken. Seafood is not as abundant, um, but there's also a lot of salads, a lot of vegetarian options. So if you're a healthy foodie, and you're interested in trying different kinds of food, I think Munich is a good place to start because it also has a very international culinary scene. So, in terms of restaurants, you have Asian restaurants, Middle Eastern, even African, and of course, some North American influences as well.
So also, while you're sharing about the food, I hope that Irene has that answered question. So we have a lot of food there that we can try. I'm looking at the comments. We have someone who wants to swim before the summer ends. Kuya John says, that's our next destination then for a swim before summer ends. Let's go Heidelberg. Hashtag Heidelberg cluster. And I think he's saying that because we went to Lubeck this past Sunday and we did see the water there. And so I think Kuya John's inspired to go swimming. And Lubeck is something that will be coming up in our near future. Hint, hint, future broadcast. Um, but so yeah, we're walking around Munich, Bavaria. We ended up on the mountains. We saw the lake. We saw the Bavarian uh basically, green, white, blue, turquoise, all these different colors. Munich is a beautiful place from my experience. So Felix, when you were, how the amount of time that you spent here in Munich, how does Munich make you feel? Having been seeing all of these from the mountain tops to the lake, what can you say about the beauty of Munich?
Living in Munich is really wonderful. I think especially the transport here is really easy to navigate. Just and the roads and the pathways for walking and biking is really wide than other cities I've been before. And most of all, it's really safe. I think it's really safe, and it's also close to the mountains. Like I said, it's like you need to just ride 30 minutes to 1 hour. There's another lake, or you can see the views on the southern part of the Germany, which is the Alps, and ride another train. You will be in a different lake. Like it's really nice. I mean, it's like a center of wonderful natures around Munich.
And I think, as our first episode in the Central Europe Connections, I think we found a good starting point in our tour of Central Europe. There's just so much that Munich has to offer in terms of history, in terms of our childhood fairy tales with the castles in the background. When you go up the mountains of the Zugspitze, it's really just beautiful. Having been to the Alps and having seen and uh, experience Munich from the top to the bottom. Carla, did we miss any place? Is there any other hidden gem that maybe we did not mention that we can share with our viewers, that something like a family can go to one of these hidden gems that would, it would basically be something so unique to Munich that maybe my family and I will go. What places can you recommend that we haven't talked about yet?
There's this one place, Henry. I'm not sure if a lot of people will know about it, and we only chanced upon it because we were going to Rosenheim for a worship service, and I'm from Ebersberg, so from Ebersberg to Rosenheim is maybe 45 minutes, and there's a small town that's called Bad Aibling, and in Bad Aibling you could see trees that are 1,000 years old. So these are really beautiful trees, and they're actually even heritage owned, so they're protected. And in the town of Bad Aibling, you also have all of these houses, which one of the commentators made a comment a while ago. They have mural paintings on the houses. So it's a very charming walk across a very small village. And there are small restaurants that are also offering only local cuisine. A classic would be this pork knuckles, similar to the crispy pata of the Filipinos. And you also have the schnitzels, which I think is a favorite among tourists. And then there's a massive lake. So again, you can cap your activity with a walk, with a picnic, or with a restaurant, and then a swim before driving back. So yeah, that's I think for me one hidden gem I would consider.
So, while you were explaining all of that, uh, I blanked out when you mentioned food. I think you mentioned something about was it the pork knuckle, or can you touch upon that, because someone in our chat commented about food. They're looking for more food options. What was that you were mentioning again?
You call it the Schweinehaxe, and it comes in there's a big portion and there's a half, and so that's one of the classics. It's really good, um, comparable to our crispy pata. And then there's also, of course, the sausages. There are several sausages to choose from. So a dinner could easily be a plate of sausages and cheese. And depending, usually the local restaurants, these are not chain restaurants. These are really mom and pop restaurants. So they make their own sausages. So what you order from one restaurant can be totally different. It's a different experience. And that's also something nice about Munich. You have all of these small businesses and homemade, farm to table, all natural. Let's talk about food.
Yes, let's talk about food. I mean, we would go over our time for today. We would not stop. I wanted to read a comment from a familiar name. Mary Lou Francisco lived in Munich for 1.5 years while doing training and teaching German. So many charming places to go to in and the outskirts of Munich. Picturesque and idyllic, if I said that last word correctly. And that's a very familiar name, which we're going to hear shortly about or from in our later on in our broadcast. There's a question. Any one of our guests can answer. Let Felix go first. The question from Frelin Belisa Fisher: what is the best time to visit Munich when it comes to a family vacation, and what is better to start off in the city or at nature? Felix, can you answer that first?
for me, the best time, I think it's either beginning of summer or maybe early autumn, because if you go visit Munich or Germany, I think in particular during winter, I think you will not enjoy that much if you don't like cold temperature, because it's really cold here in Munich during the winter and maybe late autumn, and it's always raining. I don't know why. So maybe I will advise who whomever wants to visit Munich, maybe late summer so that it's not too hot, but it's not also too cold. And maybe start on the city center, go in Marienplatz, English Garden, travel using S-Bahn or U-Bahn or maybe tram so that you can see the city of Munich. And then you can ride 30 minutes to 1 hour by train going to the closest lakes, the closest mountains. You can easily hike by 15 minutes hike, 30 minutes hike. It's I think it's advisable to go Munich first before going outside Munich.
Awesome. That's a great recommendation. So you're telling me to go now as summer is about to end. So I like that. So Carla, Felix did mention about not going in the cold if you don't like the cold, but I think you know a fun fact about what happens to some of the lakes when winter comes. So maybe what if I do like winter? Would you advise me to come into winter, and what can I do during the winter?
I would actually recommend, at least for my friends and families living in Asia, I think winter is a good time to visit. And there's still so many things to see. And when it's a good winter, meaning it's not a wet winter, when you have snow and the streets are not so muddy. So I would say maybe early winter, November, December, January, because it gets to be muddy already and going to spring. You could still go to all of these castles and palaces that we mentioned, and you can definitely still go hiking. It's just a different experience and different sceneries, but all worthwhile. Absolutely. And in addition to what Felix was also saying, riding all the public transportation, it's really very, very convenient and easy to navigate. But Munich is also a walking city. So I would recommend really wearing comfortable shoes. There's a lot of cobblestones, there's a lot of old quarters, and it's worthwhile to walk and discover. It's still a different experience walking through the city.
And so our guests, our panelists, thank you to Felix and Carla for all the information and the enthusiasm you provided in sharing and talking about the beauty of Munich, the beauty of Bavaria. Uh, for myself, someone who's been here for a few years, and I haven't enjoyed all of Munich and Bavaria yet. There's just so much to do, even just the English Garden alone, and the amount of things that we can do in Munich. Able to enjoy it with my family, able to enjoy it with my friends. The being able to go outside of our homes, away from our gadgets, just as Felix had mentioned, and to be able to connect to the place that you're in. Uh, it's not always about where you go, but who you're with as you are exploring these places. And it creates the ability to have memories for yourself with your families that we can say, in Munich, I went to the English Garden, I went to the CEBSI, I went to the Lake Icebreaker. I went to all these different places with my family. We've created memories. We created great pictures. Oh, I saw that place in the movie. We went there. We took our picture. We made our own film. We made our own documentary. We made our own special connection. So I hope everyone in our chat today who tuned into our broadcast was able to be inspired to visit a new place. Or maybe you've been there before, but you just needed to be reminded. Eva, is there anything, we need to summarize this for our viewers. What can we say about what we've learned about Munich today?
So we've talked about, oder wir sprachen heute über Exploring Munich's Charm. München hat unglaublich viel zu bieten, wie wir heute gelernt haben. Und Es gibt spannende Museen, leckeres Essen wie die berühmte Weißwurst, breite Radwege, die ideal zum Erkunden sind und dazu die Nähe zu den Alpen und sogar zum höchsten Gipfel Deutschlands. In kurzer Zeit ist man außerdem gleich in 3 verschiedenen Ländern. Das macht München wirklich besonders. Und unser Hidden Gem heute Abend ist aber der englische Garten. Ein Ort, an dem Familien gemeinsam spazieren gehen, man draußen Sport treiben kann oder sogar die Surfer auf der Eisbachwelle beobachten kann. Und das sogar mitten im Winter. Selbst für die Deutschen ein bisschen sehr kalt. Aber was diesen Platz so einzigartig macht, ist das Gefühl von echter Verbundenheit. Und passend zu unseren Central Europe Connections ist genau das, wo wir auch unseren Fokus legen. Also man kann neben dem Stadtleben auch die Natur genießen und vor allem die Zeit miteinander genießen. Ganz ohne Ablenkung durch Technik. And since we've talked about now about the different stations that we can actually go and visit in Munich, but I'm wondering, in comparison as well, what kind of new German words we can learn, especially since we do not teach the dialect Bayerisch here, but instead just the general German as well. And for this, we have Miss Malu, another episode prepared from her about leadership. So, Kuyatek, let's show us the German is Fun segment.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Hello everyone. Hallo zusammen. Welcome to German is Fun. Willkommen zu Deutsch macht Spaß. Mein Name ist Marilu Francisco. Here I am bringing you another fun session of learning basic German.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Today, we'll be learning words and expressions in German related to leadership. In today's German vocabulary, you will find a lot of English words. And 2 of these words are leadership and leader. Word number 1 for today, leader. Leader, auf Deutsch, Leader. Leader. And that is the male form of leader, singular. Plural form, leader, same word. And the female counterpart is Leaderin for singular, plural, Leaderinnen, Leaderinnen. But for today's lesson, we'll use leader referring to both male and female leaders. Word number 2, leadership. Leadership. That's also used in the German vocabulary. But there is also a German word that is used, which is Führung or Leitung. However, these 2 German words are also used to refer to management. So, to be sure that we are referring to leadership, when it comes to leadership training, the Germans also use leadership. Now, leadership can refer to the person who's holding the position of being a leader. And another meaning of this is leadership as the art or the act of leading people. Die Leadership, or you can say das Leadership. In German, many prefer to use the feminine article, die Leadership. Die Leadership. Leaders have very important responsibilities to set visions or goals for their group or for their organization. They also have the responsibilities to motivate and inspire their people to reach a common goal. Now, let's have these important words in German.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Seal, seal. Goals, sealer, sealer. If you have goals, you want to reach your goals. To reach, erreichen, erreichen, erreichen. To motivate, motivieren, motivieren. To inspire, inspirieren, inspirieren. Leaders motivate and inspire people to reach or achieve a common goal. Leader motivieren und inspirieren Menschen. Let's say those words in connected speech. Leader motivieren und inspirieren Menschen. Leader motivieren und inspirieren Menschen. Ein gemeinsames Ziel zu erreichen. Let's put them together, connect them. Ein gemeinsames Ziel zu erreichen, zu erreichen. Let's say that whole sentence. Lieder motivieren und inspirieren Menschen, ein gemeinsames Ziel zu erreichen.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Once again, the German words and expressions on leadership that we learned today. Goal, das Ziel. Goals, Ziele. To reach, erreichen, erreichen. To motivate, motivieren. To inspire, inspirieren. At this point, we'd like to greet the Executive Minister of the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Congratulations on the 16th anniversary of your leadership as the Executive Minister of the Iglesia Ni Cristo. An Bruder Eduardo V. Manalo, herzlichen Glückwunsch zum 16. Jubiläum deiner Führung als Hauptverwalter der Kirche Christi. This has been today's episode of German is fun, Deutsch macht Spaß. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Vielen Dank, Miss Malu, for another episode of German is Fun. And of course, even despite of the rebranding of Central Europe Satellite Studio to Central Europe Connections, we stay connected and also continue learning German. And hopefully they will be hint perhaps a Dutch is fun in the future. But for that, of course, as Miss Malu mentioned, this weekend, we joined the entire church in commemorating 16 years of the dynamic leadership of our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. And it's truly inspiring to see how brethren will reflect on those milestones as we can also follow it in our live chat. Henry, what do you think? How are we sharing these greetings today?
So we actually have something prepared in our next segment. So at this point, we will now hear from some special greetings from our district staff and ministers as we honor 16 years of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo's inspired leadership. Let's take a look at this video.
Warm greetings from Germany,
From the Netherlands,
From Switzerland,
From Luxembourg,
from Uzbekistan.
even in far distance, your love is manifested through your undivided admonition.
3. Inspiring us to keep our faith strong.
faithful,
Holding firmly to God's promises.
From the Ecclesiastical District of Central Europe. to our dearest Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Your caring and loving leadership keeps us anchored in the truth of our Almighty God and determined to obey God's will.
We promise to remain united with you in serving our Almighty God no matter what happens until we attain our salvation.
Happy 16th year of strong and dynamic leadership, Paul. Praise be to our Almighty God and our Lord Jesus Christ.
And as we stay connected, this has been our Central Europe Connections broadcast of tonight, because we're slowly going to the end. So sad, actually, because this has been a really informative but also a very fun broadcast of tonight. And speaking of greetings, of course, we give the panelists their time to give out their special greetings to their loved ones, to the brethren, or whoever you would like to greet. And let's start, of course, with ladies first. Carla, who would you like to greet?
I'd like to greet our brothers and sisters in the Munich locale and all the other GWSs that belong to our cluster. Hi, everyone. Hope you enjoyed and learned something new. Onward to the next city that we will be discussing in the future. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight as well, Carla, and for giving your insight about the hidden gems of Munich, and also helping us to understand how even surfers in winter can surf here in Germany, in Munich. But of course, we would also like to give Felix or Kaiser his moment to give out his greetings.
I would also like to greet all our viewers outside Munich and outside Bavarian district. So hello to all of you, especially for if we ever have a viewer from the Philippines, because I think it's 2 p.m. or 3 a.m. in there. So hello to the viewers, all to the viewers of the Philippines. Hi.
Thank you so much for also being with us tonight, Kaiser. And actually, yes, there is actually a sister or family from Berlin who is currently in the Philippines who are still staying connected with us and even support our Central Europe Connections broadcast tonight. So thank you so much for the time that you have also spent with us. And Henry, of course, we cannot forget about you and your greetings.
So I would like to shout out everyone in our chat today. Thank you for your participation. You know, I was trying to look at the comments, looking for stuff to read, but it was really scrolling way too fast. So please continue that enthusiasm and support as we go through this next phase of Central Europe Connections, because this is, again, how we stay connected to you every Sunday, 8 p.m. Central European summer time. So please always be with us in our broadcast. Shout out to you. And as always, shout out to my wife, who is just right outside this wall, and my children, who are always supporting in our broadcasts. Back to you, Eva.
Shout out to you and your family as well. Thank you so much for leading us throughout this first broadcast. We made another milestone in our past Central Europe satellite studio, but now Central Europe connection. So that was a good transition as well. And of course, we would also like to shout out, first of all, again, thank you so much to the panelists for joining us tonight. Thank you to the viewers and listeners for watching, as well as thank you both to our District CFO Advisor, Brother Scott Augustine. Thank you both to our Assistant District Minister, Brother Jake Edick, as well as, of course, thank you both to our District Minister, Brother Joel B. Catalan. We would also like to give our shout outs to our INCmedia Production Chief, Brother Montreville, as well as our INCRadio Station Manager, Brother Wally Taray. And we would also like to thank our CFO Coordinator, Brother Ralph Francis D. Esguera, as well as our Deputy Executive Minister, Brother Angelo Eranio Manalo. And most importantly, we thank the Church Administration and our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. especially as we celebrate 16 years of his tireless and dynamic leadership. And since we already had some hints in between our broadcast, I prepared something, Henry, and perhaps our guests or the live chat actually will be able to guess it, but the solution will be upcoming on Sunday. So let's listen up and imagine a place where the sea breeze is never far away, where sweet flavors tell their own story, and where every corner whispers of journeys that began long ago. Can you guess our next stop? Here's a hint. It's the home of world-famous marzipan and stories of the Hanseatic Sea. So let's see, and we'll stay connected and see you in our next broadcast. See you then. Actually, let's stay connected and inspired. See you next week. Same time, same place. Bye.